Aykan Erdemir, a former member of Turkish parliament, joining us now live from Washington to talk more about this ongoing crackdown in Turkey. Appreciate you joining us. First off, I understand that you're quite suspicious of the timing of this latest raids, these latest massive raids.
Certainly, allegations of widespread rigging of civil service exams, all the way from the police to the judiciary to the foreign service, have been going on for at least 10 years. And when Turkey's secular opposition voiced these concerns for almost a decade, back then Prime Minister and now President Erdogan basically covered up all those allegations. And now, in the month and a half to Turkey's local elections to be held on March 31st, we see a very conspicuous timing as Erdogan is trying to deflect the voters' attention away from the economic crisis at home. And what's interesting in this case is over 1,000 police officers who have been accused of rigging the exam. Actually, if they had done so, this would be under Erdogan's close watch, because until 2013, Erdogan and the US-based Turkish cleric Fethullah Gülen used to be the closest allies. And in fact, they have coordinated much of the attempt to purge the secular civil servants from their positions in the police, in the judiciary, in the foreign ministry. And only now that they have a fallout since December 2013, they are basically going after one another's resources.
So as our Jamada Kratche was reporting, I mean, this purge, Erdogan's purge, we've been seeing this ever since the failed coup attempt back in 2016. And we've seen, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of civilians and security personnel, journalists being targeted, thrown in to detention with no due process. Mass trials are continuing. Mass raids are continuing. What happens, first of all, during these trials? There's no due process, clearly.
Yes, since Turkey's abortive coup, rule of law has been undermined under state of emergency. Even right to attorney or attorney-client privilege was lifted. And unfortunately, although many of these cases are based on real grievances, the show trials that lump together both the innocent and the guilty together have made it impossible to figure out who was really culpable. And in fact, there has been a systematic attempt to keep these purges at the low levels, because ultimately, if the Turkish courts have dug deeper into these cases, links to current members of the Turkish government would have showed up. So at this point, I would argue that these are show trials where a lot of the dissident opposition types, including a lot of the secular politicians, journalists, academics, have been purged or have been persecuted as part of an ongoing witch hunt.
Yeah, and let me ask you this, because we have to get going, but I just wanted to hear your personal story, because you are a former member of the Turkish parliament. You are now living in the United States. You left right before this failed coup attempt. Why did you leave, and do you have any plans to go back?
I left Turkey in January 2016 because I was seeing that the space for dissident voices was getting restricted, constricted. And I wasn't wrong. Only 6 months later came an abortive coup, and then a state of emergency. And now I'm one of the tens of thousands of Turkish dissidents, academics, journalists, lawmakers, who feel more comfortable writing and speaking about Turkey abroad. And this is unfortunately Turkey's ongoing exodus of critical thinkers, and it undermines not only Turkey's democracy, but also Turkey's economy.
It's hard to believe that this is a country that was trying to join the European Union. Right now, it's looking more like a dictatorship, as many critics would say. Aykan Erdemir, appreciate you joining us with your perspective, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.